Ian Malcolm said it best with "Life finds a way." And this time Frontier have found another way to give us a third entry in the Jurassic World Evolution series. And once again we've ignored every red flag on bringing dinos back, obviously for our own entertainment, but what could go wrong? Well, welcome back everyone, and all those park managers and chaos enthusiasts are gonna love this one. Jurassic World Evolution 3 is here, and Frontiers basically said, you wanted control? Here, take the keys to the kingdom and the whole ecosystem we had before and more. This time, we're not just wrangling dinosaurs or developing them, we're raising them too. Baby dinos are stomping onto the scene, and they've somehow become even cuter and more dangerous than their parents. Which is something I was not too fussed on when they announced all this, but happily I've come round to it. Not to mention the addition of the Planet series fully modular building and terrain editing, and suddenly you're less theme park manager and more prehistoric architect of chaos. Two of the first aspects of this game that immediately stood out to me were its visuals and the controls. Graphically, this game feels quite a leap from the original back a couple of years ago, and even the last entry. Cinematically though, Evolution 3 is a whole new era of its own, mixing the narrative elements, camera work and grandiose vistas you build in. It works quite well. Everything feels grander, bolder and more alive, from the shimmer of sunlight across a sauropod scales to the way a storm rips through your park with terrifying realism. This is the most spectacular Jurassic experience yet. Which you could argue took far too many years and sequels to achieve this, but here we are. Frontier has clearly gone all in on its third entry with the atmosphere, the lighting, the weather effects and everything else, the creature animations and the blending, the creative moments that just feel straight out of the films. The AI and behaviours must have been tweaked as well, because it feels like it's allowing players to immerse themselves even more. And even the voice acting has been levelled up. It feels more real and believable and not like some sort of weird cameo parody. They reference the past films and the goings on, filling in what's kind of next and how this game sits in the universe. The performances hit that perfect mix of scientific awe and barely contained panic, giving the world a real sense of drama when things happen, especially during the campaign. And then there's the controls I mentioned, smoother, smarter, tighter and more accessible than ever. The interface has finally evolved, pun intended. Menus are cleaner, navigation's faster, it all flows naturally from one gameplay aspect to the next, and almost every mechanic gives you the freedom to tweak, customise and experiment. Accessibility is well at play here too, letting you tweak way more than before. There's menus full of options. But one thing I really did like is the three types of cameras that are in place. There's a standard camera with some restrictions on how close and the kind of boundaries of the levels, but there's a secondary camera that is freeform with no collision. You can accidentally zoom through the entire map but get really up close to creatures and buildings, perfect for photo mode, perfect for capturing gameplay. It's really ideal for content creators and the community. And there is a third camera that is similar to the first and has collision, but it's similar angled and kind of performance to the Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo games. Again, a nice addition. Whether you're micromanaging ranger teams, sculpting the terrain or fine-tuning dino behaviours, it all feels intuitive and responsive. Frontiers clearly listened to a lot of feedback from the last two games, the community, Reddit, forums, whatever. And as a result, the UI, the camera, the control systems and everything we're about to talk about has been improved, and it's just empowering the players instead of overwhelming them. Something I and many other fans will appreciate, because the second game just had too much of this multitasking going on that didn't feel as fun as it should. Player freedom is a big thing in Jurassic World Evolution at 3. It has had a massive levelling up. The biggest aspects I think needs to be talked about is this. You're not just running a park anymore, you're shaping life itself, whether it's dino conservation, a classic Jurassic Park, a modern Jurassic World, a mix of all of them, or some sort of safari battle arena. Like, there's so much sandbox element here, which we'll get into soon. Each step, from the dig site to the research, the incubation, picking your staff, customization of all of it, it flows together into a seamless process, and it feels finally like every decision you make has weight and kind of reactions to it. These old style contracts and pillars of management all feed into these systems effortlessly, and it makes that moment to moment gameplay loop less tedium and more freedom. And the new male dinosaurs make a real difference too, because historically they've always been female, and now we've got unique behaviours, special breeds, patterns, personality quirks, and those breeding pairs I mentioned, they add a surprising amount of depth. Finding a good mummy and daddy dinosaur for a great lineage, or breeding the best genetic traits and patterns, it feels like something out of Ark Survival Evolved, you know, the good one. Even though it was flawed, but yeah. But it's all on a management sim kind of level. It feeds in really well with creating your perfect park. Then there's the juveniles, the babies, the eggs, the full-on breeding system, which is one of the headline features of this sequel. Watching a hatchling stumble out of the egg into the world, or seeing adults protect their young, adds a layer of connection to the series they've never had before. They nuzzle, they snuggle, they squeak. It's adorable, and it adds extra dynamics to the replay value, and for a lot of fans to get close to their little digital creatures.
Well, I'll be. Juvenile dinosaurs created the old-fashioned way. How far they've come. No longer man-made assets that test the limits of what science can or should do, but animals. Naturally bred animals. Wow, fascinating. So fascinating and possibly cataclysmic. I'm wildly curious to find out.
My word, you actually did it. By recreating natural conditions, no less. This could be just the thing to give dinosaurs a foothold in challenging environments.
Behaviour and comfort systems have evolved too. The AI interactions feel more nuanced, realistic and fairer. Fights and social clashes have purpose, effects and lasting scars, traits, and keeps everyone feeling content. And the firefighting of the whole old games where you're having to manage multiple things at once, it feels like you're doing less of that and more of animal care. You build habitats, not enclosures. This isn't just about profit, but conservation, and these prehistoric lizards now have the perfect place to live. And on the genetic side of things, it's pure sandbox brilliance. You can tweak traits, temperaments, visual patterns, create the creatures you truly want to see and own. Down to modern designs of the films, or feathered or fur-covered that nod to the real paleontological, if I can get that word out, variants that scientists are seeing today. Because we all know that dinosaurs actually had fur and feathers and hair, which is weird to think about. It's the perfect blend of science and spectacle, and it makes the park and its residents feel more alive than ever. The standalone sandbox mode proved this even more, something we will touch on again very soon, as we need to talk about that main campaign and the challenges firstly.
Well, You know, I've been to a tropical island harboring so-called groundbreaking research before, and I felt this same mix of sheer wonder and utter dread back then, too. I'm more optimistic about what I'll find this time around, but still, if I may, a word of advice: build more places to hide than you think you need.
Now, the campaign in Evolution 3, or JWE3, whatever you want to call it, works exactly how a good sequel should, as both a welcome mat and a proving ground. It's a fantastic introduction to the new systems, guided by familiar voices set across a series of vibrant, beautiful, realised locations that ease you into the mechanics while letting you experiment and build freely. The new world map system expands the experience dramatically, letting you manage multiple parks across the globe at a time, each with its own challenges, climates and ecosystems. It's a clever way to teach you the ropes while constantly surprising you with new environments, making it feel fresh and just more welcoming. You can choose what you want to do at what time. Once you've got your footing on this, the management depth really kicks in, something that can be completely stripped or altered in the sandbox mode, but in the main campaign, there's far more emphasis on the business side of running your prehistoric empire, balancing profits, amenities, staff and research while trying to keep your dinosaurs happy and your guests not eaten alive. It feels like a proper simulation now, not just a sandbox with teeth. Expeditions and contracts also make a strong return, but this time they actually matter instead of feeling like a filler objective or some weird side quest. They now tie naturally into your park's progress, giving you meaningful choices for the rewards, goals and initiatives. And the reasons to engage with that system is like an endless loop of reward. Everything feels connected and purposeful, which keeps the gameplay loop satisfying and tight. That's the main thing that I wanted from the third entry. And for those diehards, there is a challenge mode where you can truly test your park management mettle. The difficulty does ramp up, and I don't know if this is for me, the margin for errors are quite small. And yes, you do earn a reward, but it's not locking maps or modes away. It's actually just golden dinosaur statues that you can show off in other sandbox mode. It's a neat reward for perfectionists, but you're not missing out on anything if you don't play it. There's something for every player to dive into here. Well, let's just pause the prehistoric pandemonium for a quick moment, shall we? If you're enjoying the video and you haven't yet liked or subscribed, now is the perfect time to do so. Go on, I'll even stick the kettle on while you click a few buttons. I'm sure it won't take too much time. It's completely free, takes less than a tranquilizing, rampaging raptor, and it really helps the channel out. Seriously, every single like, subscribe, comment, the hype thing they've added, it all pushes us close to that big milestone of 1,000 subscribers, which I'm hoping we get to by the end of the year. And if you're having a dynamite time, give that like button a good stomp for me. Maybe even ring the bell if you want to get reminded of when I post things. But yeah, let's not miss out on the next prehistoric adventure. Alright, well if the tea's brewed, the raptors are fed now, we get back to the chaos. Now, where were we? Ah yeah. So this is what a lot of people are going to want to know that are watching this video. So let's talk about sandbox mode, the truly free mode. And this is where Evolution 3 truly shines and where the game will have some real longevity, some legs to it. And with the new modular building and environment shifting mechanics and all these little tweaks and additions, it finally gives players that freedom we've been waiting for. And honestly, this is the third game in the series. These systems arguably should have been in the second entry, some even in the first. So yeah, I can share that it's a little frustrating that it's took this long to get things that were already in their other games. I'm not sure of the intricacies and the kind of business and red tape with all that, but let's just put that aside because we now have it, and it is genuinely the most open, creative and player driven sandbox experience with dinosaurs and in this series I've ever seen. I think this kind of rivals Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, depending obviously where you sit on that fence. Now, A returning feature all the way back from Operation Genesis on the PS2, different devs, different people, different publishers, different console, is the island generator. And it's reimagined, and it gives you access to massive flat terrains, familiar locations and classic maps we all know and love, and it gives the player the complete agency in that sandbox mode to build the park of your dreams wherever you want it. Loads of mountains, loads of water, split off islands, a flat surface, loads of forests, whatever you want, it's there. You can sculpt those landscapes, rearrange habitats, experiment with new terrain features and fine-tune every corner of your ecosystem. The depth of the gameplay options here and accessibility settings and creative tools means that every part can truly feel unique, and it's thrilling to see Frontier finally give the community the freedom it's been asking for. And notably as well, we have the whole workshop and the blueprint system and sharing things online, so this is going to be kind of a feedback loop of cool people making cool things for other people to enjoy and vice versa. But I'm genuinely pleased and proud to see that the island generator is finally here after 2 games so far, and the sandbox experience is a massive step up for anyone who's ever dreamed of crafting that ultimate Jurassic World. You know, I think the fans deserve it, and then some. So let's talk about what I loved and some notable additions involved with this sandbox mode. So speaking of the creative freedom, there's the genetic customization, and in Evolution 3 it's a joy. You can fully adapt to dinosaurs' genome, tweaking traits, behaviours, even colours and patterns, mix and match, and some species now even sport feathered or fur covered variants like we mentioned, and it's more in line with that paleontological research, trying to say that word again, which is a small but delightful nod to realism if you want that. And it's one of my favourite touches, but another one of my favourite touches is something kind of small but just cool. It's the footprints are left by large dinosaurs. I made a T-Rex and just saw the footprints kind of going into the different patterns of the environment and the earth and slowly fading away or becoming muddy in the rain, and seeing those kind of T-Rexes stomping around. I mean, there's other dinosaurs do it, but it just feels such a subtle moment, but adds such like life and immersion to the parts you make. I just loved it. The dinosaur systems themselves feel sharper than ever too. This is something you'll notice as you play. It's kind of hard to focus and tune in on, but the comfort, the breeding, the maturing, the social dynamics, it all flows, how the dinosaurs interact with each other and the things that come into their kind of enclosures. And whether they're forming bonds, fighting, or just territorial, it's simply relaxing to see them in their habitat, and it all feels fairer and more intuitive and genuinely rewarding to do this. It doesn't feel like a checkbox or like you're fighting fires. You can see the care you've put into creating the perfect environment, and it pays off in meaningful ways. Even if you can't quite put your finger on every AI tweak, it's noticeable what they've done. The only real difference or lack of is the fact that when the dinosaurs are fighting, it's kind of the same animations. That could do with a bit of work, but hey ho. But one of the smartest expansions on what the Planet games do and what Jurassic World didn't do is the expanded terrain tools. You don't even need to solely rely on fences anymore because of this. It's almost like procedurally generated as you kind of cut paths into the earth. It's a massive step up, like other things, and the natural barriers like rocks, canyons, ravines, they can shape your park, customize it, they save you power, it adds layers of creativity and kind of ways to tackle problems and placements of where you're putting enclosures. It's really cool, and it's one of the best I've played in the genre, and combined out with all the community and the workshop support, the possibilities for your park designs are nearly limitless. But like I said, even the small touches show the care put into this game. I'm not sure how long it was actually in development, but radio stations in the Ranger cars, auto-lock features for the different vehicles you use, even flare guns on the Jeeps just to kind of distract dinosaurs. Like, there's cosmetics for each one as well, which are all free. They all came in my base edition, and it doesn't seem like they've stripped any dinosaurs per se out. I know there will probably be some Jurassic World Rebirth and future film DLC like they always do, but it feels like everything's included. There's like at least like 80 to 100 dinosaurs. And it just lets you interact with your park in such a subtle and engaging way with all these nuances about and all these layers. And overall it's just got a lot more personality, a bit more charm, and it has that Jurassic World feeling to it, like everything's a breathing ecosystem. But every game does have its pros and cons and caveats, but luckily if we talk finally on performance, because this game is big and there's many dinosaurs stomping around, and with the sheer number of systems we've talked about at play, we're bracing for a disaster straight out of Jurassic Park. And you know, everything's on fire and the T-Rexes escape kind of chaos, but to my relief, Jurassic World Evolution 3 actually runs beautifully on the PC. I was hitting flawless 120 FPS on high to ultra settings with some ray tracing, which is wild, and that was at 1440p ultra wide, and I didn't see a single bug, stutter or crash. And my rig isn't top of the line perfect either, but it's a solid high-end setup, so this is genuinely impressive from a AAA game that it works on launch. But even lower end hardware seems to have the game in a playable and smooth performance manner, and if you tweak some of the settings, sacrifice some ray tracing, dialing down the shadows, FSR, DLSS, you know, all that stuff that, you know, Digital Foundry would go into, it's clear Frontier optimised this one for PC first and foremost, which honestly feels like how it should be. These are kind of PC games at heart. The caveat is, console players are having a rougher ride from what I've seen online. PS5 and Xbox Series X struggling with park complexity limits, large habitats, full-scale dino breeding. It's not game breaking as such, but it does feel like the raptors have escaped the optimization lab and run amok on that side of things. And patches will almost certainly fix that, but right now if you're on console, expect a few hiccups and your parks to not grow into the Jurassic-sized ambitions of a PC player. In short, PC players get the smooth, worry-free experience, while console players, well, let's just say they might be, you know, running from a stampede of issues sometimes. But still, seeing as a AAA part builder of this scale runs on console at all, it's a good sign, and the PC working perfectly is refreshing. That's really up to you and where you play. That's the only big issue with the game. So what's the final verdict on Jurassic World Evolution 3? By me, you know, Void. Simply put, it roars louder than any of the other games. It's stunning in its visuals, smarter in its AI and dinos, deeper management that isn't tedious, and the most creative sandbox the series has ever been. Baby dinos, modular building, terrain tools, and even these gigantic footprints that are shaping the land. It's packed with little touches and big changes that makes the world feel alive. Performance is rock solid on PC, the systems are rewarding, and the freedom to build your ultimate park is finally here, after so many years and 3 entries. Sure, consoles have some growing pains, but if you're ready to play God with claws, teeth and a T-Rex sized imagination, this park is the one you've been waiting for. In my view, this is a must play for gamers who are fans of the movies, the other games, or just big on dinosaurs in general, or park builders. For the normies, the casuals, I still think this is well worth visiting and trying out, maybe not immediately, but it's a game firing on all cylinders and refreshing to see in the current market that mostly is working and it's got enough content, it's not stripped away. So go have fun and be the next John or Jane Hammond.
Now, the very future is in your hands.